in Larbrick Cluster. As Mary said, at the moment I'm acting principal teacher at Stenhousemuir Primary. I've been there since August, I'll be there till June, but usually you can find me at Larbrick Village Primary, just up the road, as a class teacher. I'm also part of the Raise STEM network, mentor network for Larbrick Cluster, and that's supported by Raise and Laura McCaffrey as well, and that was set up within Falkirk Council to provide some STEM mentors that would be receiving CPD and looking at new resources and sharing good practice and running CPD to support and encourage the teaching of STEM within our individual clusters. So been doing that for the last couple of years. And that's been really beneficial to my practice because it means that I've had the opportunity to try out and to take part in lots of different STEM activities and then have the opportunity to share those with my colleagues. So what I thought I'd do is just take you through some of the things that we've been doing. I picked out some that were maybe most interesting to show you what's been happening across Stenhousemuir Primary and Larbrick Village from when I was there. So this one was something we did recently, and we looked at pupil leadership for STEM Week in March. Larbrick High do a STEM Academy where primary 7s can apply to have a focus on STEM within their first 3 years of their high school experience. So some of the children that had an interest and thought that STEM Academy might be for them formed the STEM Squad, and they had some time with me every week. We looked at some opportunities for them to lead the learning in P1 to 4 during STEM Week. So what they did was they had a look at some of the activities, we looked at some of the learning, we looked at some of the E's and O's and where we could meet some learning needs within the lower school. They developed their experiments, they developed their lessons, and they led those independently. So that was really, really good for them to get those leadership skills, to bring on their confidence, but also to develop their love of STEM and their interest in STEM subjects and really go forward with their applications to high school, which was great. As you can see, the little ones hung on their every word during STEM Week and really enjoyed the activities that they did. So that was really, really good to see. One of the other activities that we've been doing in school is using the Make-Do cardboard engineering sets. This was introduced to me through the STEM network, and then we have some sets within Falkirk Council that practitioners are able to borrow from the amazing library services that we have at Falkirk Council. Make-Do is a way of building with cardboard. When you build with cardboard, as you know, it's a nightmare to stick it together. Sellotape doesn't work, glue doesn't work. But this is a system of tools and screws that allows you to create almost anything out of scrap cardboard. Really sustainable because the sets just, when they're finished with them, they just unscrew the screws, put it all back. And most schools have a good supply of cardboard for the children to make things with. The bottom right shows a picture from their website, so they obviously were a lot more ambitious with their creations than our first try. So children loved this. All of our children from P1 to P7 were able to engage with this activity. Our children from our enhanced provision were able to take part and enjoy these, and we've actually ordered some of these for school to facilitate play in the upper stages as well as in the lower stages, because it's a really sort of rich play resource and gives children that creativity, that open-ended creativity and play that's so difficult to meet in the upper stages. Forth Valley College is another fantastic organisation that are working with STEM in primary schools at the moment. They have a range of STEM boxes that schools in Stirling, Clackmannanshire and Falkirk can borrow from them. They're fantastically well resourced and really, really inspiring. This shows the rocket launchers STEM box. This one was really, really good. It had a link to aeronautical engineering. Children learned about what does an aeronautical engineer do, what kind of skills do they have, and then they created their own rockets using the kit from Forth Valley College. There was lots and lots of trial and error, lots of working together, lots of that didn't work, why did that not work, let's try this. And then of course we had our flight session at the end. They provided a air-powered rocket launcher, so our furthest rocket went about 15 metres, which was great. Kids absolutely loved that activity. We also had Forth Valley College coming in to do their STEM outreach days. So they provide STEM team coming out to primary 6 and 7. So our primary 7s took part, and it's an immersive day. You can see them all with their little lab coats on and their glasses, and they do all sorts of experiments like extracting DNA from strawberries, and really sort of inspire and fire the children up for STEM. You know, you can see by their faces how much they enjoyed the session. So that was really good. And all of the work that Forth Valley College are doing with primary schools is free. You don't have to pay for that, so it really is quite accessible for all. Done a lot in the last couple of years with coding, again supported by Raise. We've been looking at the Code and Go mouse. This is our primary 1s playing with the Code and Go mouse. It's like an updated Bee-bot, where children, you can see from the picture that they've created their own maze for the mouse to go down, as opposed to the map that existed before. But really good to start them thinking and developing their computational thinking skills. We've used Sphero Indie, which is a sort of next step up with the coding, and Sphero Indie has a colour sensor on the bottom, and so children create pathways of coloured blocks, and they would be your blocks of code. So every colour has a different code and sends Indie to do something different. So it's about exploring. You know, this was primary 4. We gave them the blocks. We didn't tell them what the blocks meant. They had to work that out for themselves. So again, it's try this, try that. That didn't work. So really hands-on and trying to understand and get them to really appreciate that for coding, you know, it has to be exact. If it's slightly off, and they will go off the wrong way. If they put the wrong piece of code in, they won't get the end result. So really motivating. Sphero Indie is also really good if you've got children with additional support needs. When you go online to Sphero Indie, there's a fantastic ASM guide. The simplicity and the predictability of Indie make that something that's really good for those children. And Scratch, I think most people have dipped their toe into Scratch, but again, we use Scratch. You know, once we've had a go with Indie and we understand that sort of process, looking at building simple games and animations through Scratch on the computer. And then I guess to finish off that progression, we looked at Sphero Bolt. So Sphero Bolt is a robot that you connect via Bluetooth to an iPad or a computer, and you use block coding to control the ball itself. So that was really good. It was something really physical, and you know, the children could create the code and they could see it happening in front of them, but also a challenge because, you know, when you do it on the computer, it's very predictable. When you've got a ball on the ground and it's maybe carpet or it's smooth ground, they had to make lots and lots of changes and lots of alterations to their code to find their end result. One of the really exciting projects we got involved with last year, and again this is a primary 4 class, was the First Lego League. So First Lego League is a collaborative project, and it links design and technology to real life context, and the context this year was Cargo Connect. So it was all about cargo. Real focus on team building and problem solving. Again, I had 5 children within my class who were in our enhanced provision, and it was a fantastic project for everyone. It was really inclusive. This is the pack they get. It's really very prescribed. You've got your different Lego pieces in different boxes. All of the equipment goes back in at the end of the session. really taught children to be really careful with the resource because these little bits go missing really easily. So that was a bit of a challenge, but we got there. And it involves building. So the iPad or your laptop or your computer will show you the instructions for a build. So it's very like the paper that comes in a Lego set. If you've ever bought a Lego set, you get a little book and it shows you step by step how to create something. The little grey and white box at the top there, that's the box that receives the signal from the iPad. So you build it around that. And when you're finished, you use block coding to code your Lego robot. The coding in this particular program was really, really simple. It was all picture-based. So again, my children that really struggled with these things really shone in this. It also gave them an example code to copy. So it really modelled that coding before they got the opportunity to make changes to it to see how they could make it behave differently. So I've got two little videos. I'm not sure how well these play, but I'll have a go. So the first one was a cooling fan for a refrigerated vehicle. And the second one was a robot that you could send into a cargo hold in order to inspect what was in there. So see if I can get this one up. Nope, not going to let me do that. Oh, there we go. I can pull that around. Oh, there we go. Okay. Again, another project that took part in this one, I accessed through Twitter. So I advertised on Twitter. It's fantastic. Resource for STEM teaching is Twitter. But this was a project run by the Young Engineers and Science Clubs. And the one that I took part in was called the Little Lighthouse project. This was an interdisciplinary project. It was accompanied by resource kits, CPD courses that enabled teachers to tackle STEM concepts through engaging activities. So it was all hands-on and it helped children to understand the challenges and involve them in creating solutions. Outside of my comfort zone at this point, I had never used a microbit before, didn't really even think I understood what a microbit was. However, the resource box and the training was second to none. So by the time that had all finished, I felt really confident in taking this forward within my classroom. So we covered all sorts of things through this project. We started off by researching lighthouses. What were they? How do they flash? What are they for? When were they built? Who built them? Who lives there? All of these things. And then part of that, we, with literacy, they researched and wrote information reports on a lighthouse of their choice. We did lots of artwork when we looked at parts of a lighthouse, what they're called, what each part's called, and we looked at what would a lighthouse look like on a Dreich Scottish day, and we used our watercolours to do that. We then started to look at technology and we started to look at Scratch. Sorry, I should say this was a P6 class. We looked at creating lighthouses on Scratch that flashed, that we could create a flash with. And then we started to explore microbits themselves. We looked at electrical circuits. So we explored electrical circuits. How do they work? How do we make lamps light? How do we make buzzers sound? And then we linked our microbits to control our electrical circuits. So once they understood the electrical circuits, we looked at using the microbit to control it, to turn it on and off, to use it as a switch, to create light patterns. They used it to create a light sensor, so when the light dipped to a certain level, the lamp would light. So all sorts of things, all supported by the resource pack that comes from YESC. Then they looked at a design challenge. So they had to build a lighthouse model that had a lamp that flashed in the exact pattern of their chosen lighthouse. So one thing that I didn't know was that every lighthouse has a unique flash pattern. So ships are able to identify where they are and which lighthouse they are beside by their flash pattern, which was completely new learning for me, and the kids were absolutely fascinated by this concept. So once they'd chosen their lighthouse in their groups, they started to create their lighthouse. So we used recyclables to do that and paper mache, and they looked at the drawings that they'd made. So once they had chose their lighthouse, they drew, they looked at all the features, what was around it, and they created models of their lighthouses. And there they are. There's some of our finished ones. I remember that top left one, that was Nest Point in Skye. Can't remember the names of the other ones, but really proud of their models. And the challenging bit was then to make their lighthouse flash. So they had to incorporate their learning about electrical circuits and their microbits in order to create a lamp within their model that they could control with their iPad so that it flashed in the exact flash pattern of their lighthouse. It was really tricky to do that. It was a real challenge, but the determination of the children was fantastic, and they all managed to create flashing lighthouses that were unique to that individual lighthouse. One of the really important things that we did with this project was making sure that we were sharing our learning. It was when we returned from COVID, so there were still lots and lots of guidelines. We couldn't have parents in, we couldn't have children in our classroom, so we set up a lighthouse gallery where children could walk past and have a look. We shared lots of our learning with parents on Twitter. It became really important to do that, and we shared it within our classroom as well on our display and looked at our learning journey that way. And these are some of the feedback from the children. I think one of the things that really stands out is the different things that they learned and the different things that they picked up from the project. I didn't know that the first lighthouse was built in ancient Egypt either. Did lots about Robert Stevenson and looking at how to connect equipment with wires in a circuit. So lots and lots of different things that they picked out. And then what did they enjoy? It was a project that really, really inspired the children. You know, when it was on the timetable to do, they were running in excited. What are we doing? What are we doing next? Can we start this? So it was something that was really enjoyable for everybody in the classroom. And family learning. So family learning is something that I had the opportunity to do before COVID. Lardborough High School Technologies Department ran a course on family learning where you shadowed their family learning sessions and ran one in school. And with COVID, that hasn't happened since. However, for STEM Week this year, I decided to run some family learning at Stenhousemuir Primary School. So why did we do it? It's really nice for parents and children to spend some quality time together. I was going to say that it doesn't involve sitting behind a screen, but we were coding a little bit, so there was a little bit of screen time there, and learning new skills together and to have fun. It was really important, you know, that for children who have no experience of STEM, families have no experience of STEM, those children are less likely to take STEM forward in the high school. So increasing the STEM capital of the children was really important, but also increasing the STEM capital of parents was really important, just to make sure that they have lots of STEM experiences, knowledge, and that their attitude and way of thinking was really positive around STEM. So we did coding, and we had 2 different sessions. We talked about what coding was. Lots of parents came along because they had no idea what coding was. And we talked a lot about why we teach coding to children and looking at that progression of skills and the different things that children can gain from taking part in coding. Lots of lovely feedback from parents. It was a really, really good session. Everybody seemed to really enjoy themselves. Lots of feedback about spending time together, bonding with their children, learning new skills around their children. So it was a really, really positive experience for everyone involved. This is just a quick snapshot of some of the feedback that we got from parents before the session and after the session. So it was really, really clear that both parents and children increased their own confidence in their coding skills, and that they came away feeling that they knew much more about coding and why coding is important to teach in primary schools. It's a really positive result. So that's me. The last thing that I really wanted to say was that most of what I've done and most of the activities and projects that I've got involved in have been through Twitter. I think it's a really valuable resource for teachers. Lots of opportunities that are shared on there. I know that the STEM mentors in Falkirk have their own Twitter accounts, and we share good practice and we share opportunities for other practitioners. But there are fantastic Twitter accounts all over Scotland to follow. The RAISE ambassadors for every region are fantastic at sharing opportunities as well, and I've found that to be one of the most valuable things to support me in my STEM journey that I can then take forward to the children. And that's me.